Hi, this is David Weinberger. A friend I will call NV is not himself an AI developer, but he writes about AI. I'm going to lower this a little bit here. I'm going to start again. Hi, this is David Weinberger. A friend I'll call NV is not himself an AI developer, but he writes about AI on the basis of a long career with top tech companies. He's also a talented amateur musician, so of course he's starting a podcast, which will probably be great, damn him. By the way, the NV stands for just what it sounds like when you say the letters out loud with an accent on the N. I'll give you a second. Okay then. Wanting to be a modern podcaster, NV decided he needs a spiffy, upbeat musical theme song. And he could have written it because he's talented, but he's not about to assemble a quintet to perform it. So he did what we normal schlubs would do. He went to one of the sites that will create and record music for you, an AI creation. Give it some instruments and some adjectives, and it'll create music that it promises is unique enough that it'll keep you out of the courts, very probably. Get out of jail by never going in, that's my motto. Intros, outros, suspenseful audio that will keep your true crime aficionados hooked as you head into a commercial. It does it all. So where's the harm in NV using AI to generate a musical intro based on his instructions and coaching and back and forth tweaking, instead of paying for some human creative work, which would have taken much longer and cost much more? In fact, without the AI composition service, NV is likely to have gone to one of the online sources for openly licensed music, which means no copyright infringement, means no going to jail very likely. And where's the harm in that? Well, here's some harm. A 2024 report by, get ready for it, the International Confederation of Societies of Authors and Composers, or as it's known, the Ikisaka, predicted that AI could cost music creators 24% of their annual revenues, which is less than I thought it would have been, but it's a pretty big chunk of change of somebody's income, especially musicians, which generally are not very highly paid the way they deserve to be. We could try to regulate our way out of this by banning AI that generates music, but that feels really wrong to me. But I'm not a musician. I'm not even a big fan of music. I mean, I have some exceptions, but don't get me started, Bach and Jacob Collier. In any case, I have zero skin in any side of this game. But I do worry about some of the lines that we might have to draw. In particular, although I'm not a musician, sure, like every white boy in the 1960s, I played guitar in a truly terrible high school rock band. Perhaps you've heard of us, Wheel and the Spokesman. But occasionally I do enjoy writing music with a computer. When I say write, I mean placing notes on the musical staves on my screen and pressing play. It's total trial and error. It's guided by some sensibility based not on sounds, but on the visual layout of the notes on the staves. Another fun fact about my ears, carbonation makes my eardrums hurt. My ears may be cross-wired, I'm not sure. Nevertheless, via this method of visual sound arranging, I occasionally write 15, 30 seconds of music that secretly pleases me. No harm there, right? I mean, it's embarrassing, but the computer is merely amplifying some odd aptitude for creating bad podcast intros purely visually. But on a long-time mailing list I've been on for a long time, users of these tools were charged with making things too easy. The human didn't do the hard work of getting really good on an instrument, except for, of course, for the rock riffs I can still lay down with the best of the 75-year-old cohort of high school rockers. I don't know enough music theory to understand what I'm doing. It's trial and error, guided by the look of the notes on the page, tested by my carbonated ears. So if I write something good, it won't exactly be on purpose. But who cares? Are you going to tell me that Duke Ellington never wrote a great piece of music by noodling on his piano until something struck him as usable? So, yeah, my point is that I'm exactly like the Duke when it comes to composing. Thank you very much for that. It means a lot. But suppose I were to compose a piece of music by giving an AI a prompt so descriptive, so precise, so evocative, that you might mistake it for a poem, a bad poem. and say the AI responds with a substantial piece of music that does exactly what my prompt was asking for, although it was asking very poorly. Or suppose I pour my heart out about my love for my wife in such exquisite, original language that the poem the AI writes for me expresses my feelings in ways I could never have done. Are we heading to the point at which I could give my love the poem, acknowledge that AI wrote it, and have her take it as a true expression of how I feel, although in words or in music or in painting or in sculpture or dance, definitely not dance, that I lack the talent to create on my own? In short, AI would be our Cyrano de Bergerac, the great fictional poet in an 1897 novel who translates an inarticulate soldier's stumbling words into gorgeous phrases and verses that win the heart of the fair lady, a fair lady who happens to be Cyrano's cousin, a cousin whom he wants to woo but is too shy, and whose heart he finally wins as he's dying, thereby avoiding the icky consummation part. AI can be our Cyrano without the ick, maybe with it. No ick shaming here. Well, maybe about the cousin thing. If AI enables us to express what we otherwise could not, where's the harm in that? Especially if it becomes routine and ordinary to acknowledge that you're doing it without social or emotional penalty. I admit that this is way more palatable if our new Cyrano is writing super clear instruction manuals for electronic components than writing expressive love letters. Because an important part of an emotionally meaningful expression is the choice of words that you made. At least that's what people who are good at words say. And yes, this approach might drive expressions of love and of grief and of contrition and all the rest down into a normalized language that might be as personal as a Hallmark card with a typed signature. But as AI gets better and gets to learn from its interactions with us as individuals, it will likely get better at translating us in tune with who we are and how we would sound if we could express ourselves so clearly and so genuinely. AI then maybe could help us sound the way we actually are. There will still be room, I hope, for artisanal speech, a dreadful phrase, for those who can manage it, who can craft it. On the other hand, I dread all the, on the other side of things, all the AI-driven salespeople, and worse, the funny guys who will be plugging our ear holes with puns. I pay for hearing inserts that filter out puns along with life pro tips that involve cleaning empty peanut butter containers, as if clean, empty peanut butter container wasn't an oxymoron and an impossible dream. Just stop. Will any of this happen? It already is. When we ask AI to give something we wrote a once-over, that's what we're doing. We're getting it to work when having an actual, but getting it to work when we're having an actual conversation, real-time conversation. Remember those? They were fun. That might require unpleasant neural implants. But if it would get me out of conversations about uploading ourselves into computers and out of explaining that I can't do karaoke because my ears are misconnected, well, then I'm totally there. And by the way, you can be sure that this very podcast got no help from AI because it would have been much, much better. See you next time.